went through all this effort trying to get this all set up, right? Come on. Come on. Come on. No? Really? All right, for a little bit till this thing starts working. All right, today is Sunday school for the 6th of July. Why aren't you working? Anyhow, so for some reason it's not working, but until it does, the verse I like to start out Sunday schools with, sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you with reason and the hope that is in you with meekness and fear, while I try and figure this out, which hopefully shouldn't take long. There we go. Come on. Think. Yeah, it works. All right. This is from 1 Peter 3:15. Everybody. All right. Okay, normally I'll start out with a creation theme. I'm not going to do that this week. I'm not going to start out with it, but we're going to probably end with it if I can get to it. But we're going to do some of the things to start with that I just want to throw out there for you because I thought it was pretty neat. And the first one, if it'll work, we need to go. There we go. All right. Jeremiah. No, is it in Jeremiah? I think it's Ezekiel. Yeah. Let's go to Ezekiel 3:9, please. All right. Old Testament, right after Jeremiah. All right. Ezekiel 3:9 says this. Let's see. All right. It says, as an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. All right. Cool. So if we see those words right there, I want to throw one word out there for you that you might see, probably do see, and it's that word adamant. Does anybody have any idea what adamant means right there? Okay, what else? What did you say, diamond? But nope, hold on to that. What else? Determined. Okay, that's good. Nothing else? Okay. So, stubborn, determined. I kind of would throw in unbreakable there. Does that make sense? Unbreakable, kind of an adamant, unchanging is kind of what that is. So anyway, there's Ezekiel's form of the adamant is what he's saying there. It's also translated as adamant in Zechariah. I'm not going to go to it. And then Jeremiah, which I can't find, and I don't know why this went away, but in Jeremiah, it's translated as diamond. It was correct. So it's diamond, adamant, and adamant 3 times in the Bible. This word that I want to show to you is translated adamant, right here in Ezekiel. In Jeremiah, it's translated adamant, and in Zechariah, it's translated diamond. Okay, well, I got that backwards. Jeremiah, it's diamond. Ezekiel and Zechariah, it's adamant, okay? And just to give you an idea what a diamond is, we probably pretty well know what a diamond is. Native crystalline carbon, that is the hardest known material. Hardest, meaning there's nothing like it on the planet. Diamond is absolutely the hardest. There it is, Jeremiah 17:11. I knew that thing. Yep, we actually need to see this verse. This is the one that I wanted to show to start, 17:11. It's just back from Ezekiel. So let's go to Jeremiah 17:11. I'm going to show you this one more thing. No, that's not right. What? Nope, that's not right. Never mind. I thought I had the verse, so sorry about that, but I'm going to have to find it because we really need this verse, what I'm thinking of. So I got to find it real quick. Shouldn't take me too long. 17:1. Yep, that's it. Sorry. Correct. 17:1, not 11. All right. And this is important for what it says, too. Thank you, Miss Dawn. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with a point of a diamond. It is graven upon the table of your heart and upon the horns of your altars. All right, so diamond is one of them. The next one that we're going to go to, or I've showed you before, is adamant. So it's translated as diamond and it's translated as adamant. And this is in Ezekiel and Zechariah. All right, good. Now, the next one I'm going to show you too. This is the Hebrew word that is translated as adamant and diamond. The word is shamir. That's what it looks like, okay? And that word is actually translated 15 times in the Old Testament, okay? 15 times. Now, I've given you three, or basically two, adamant and diamond. And those are only three translations. So that's the actual, for real translation. You know what I mean? Those are derivations of the actual translation, which is the one that's given the most often and usually first, and this one is first. So, what is it translated as 15 times besides adamant and diamond? Well, this is what it's translated as the most. Briar, a plant that has woody or thorny prickly stem. So, here is the question. How do those relate? Adamant, diamond, briar? What? And briar is the actual definition. And they've changed briar into adamant and diamond. How did they get that? Where? What?
Sharp.
What do you mean by sharp? Thorns are sharp. Oh, yeah, thorns are sharp.
Diamond has sharp points.
It can. What adamant then? Adamant can be sharp too. I'm not saying that it can't be, but yeah. Okay. Well, I kind of do have a idea on this one. How do they relate? So basically what Miss Dawn was saying is sharpness, but it's more along the lines of cutting. Okay, this is what a briar does, is it cuts you. A diamond, adamant, can they cut you? Yes, they can. So the reason I say that is Ezekiel 3:9 says, I'll make your forehead like an adamant, and then you can go through all the people, but don't be upset by the way that they look at you. That's what it says. As an adamant, harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, so they be a rebellious people. So that he's making that adamant, like his forehead is going to be like an adamant thing. It's going to be sharp. So as he's walking through the crowds of people, his forehead is so sharp that he just splits the crowds of people and walks right through. And he's not dismayed by their looks, which are probably not very nice. Anyway, and then in Jeremiah. So Jeremiah says, the sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with a point of a diamond. What's that tell you right there? That these people, the ancients, were well aware of metallurgy. That's what that says to me right there. They knew metallurgy. The point of a diamond, the pen of iron. How do they know what an iron pen can do? They can hold it and then they can write with it because they know a pen and a point of a diamond cuts like a thorn. A diamond can not only cut, it can actually etch in things like rocks and metal. So if you inscribe it with a diamond, it doesn't really come off of that. You know what I mean? After a lot of time, it's still going to be inscribed with a diamond, especially if it's on metal or stone. You scratch it in there. What Jeremiah says, the sin of Judah is written on with a pen of iron and a point of a diamond, meaning it can't be changed, it can't be scratched out, it won't go away with time. It is graven upon the table of their heart. That means that God took a pen of iron and a point of a diamond on the heart of everyone in Judah and wrote his law. And it cannot be changed and it cannot destroy over time. It will always be the exact same. And that's what God said over there in Malachi 3:6. I am the Lord, I change not. That's exactly what he's saying. I'm not going to change. I've written my law on your heart with a pen of iron and a diamond point. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Is that, hey, you can see the translation of briar going into adamant and diamond. It's like those two have nothing to do with each other, kinda, but they really do. And also, we'll show you that the Hebrew ancient people were magnitude smarter than we are, really. They could see like one thing of briar and they say, oh, well, that relates to adamant, that relates to diamond, that relates to this, that's this. and they take like one little thing and make it mean 15 different things. That's why in English, we have to have 15 definitions for one shamir. And it's actually more than just briar, adamant, and diamond. There's a place that's actually called shamir too, so it's translated 4 times. But in English, we'd have 4 different translations for one Hebrew word. They knew exactly what it was, is what I'm getting at. We don't, but that's just how we're limited, I guess. All right, so there's that one. But I'm going to go to the next one because this was the fun one for me. So if you would, please go to Psalm chapter 40, or the 40th Psalm, and we're going to do a little bit of this one too. Then we're going to do creation, so, I'm going to get done fast as I can. This is pretty good, though. I really enjoyed doing this. So, the 40th Psalm. Morning, brother. Yeah, y'all come on in, make yourself comfortable. All right, 40th Psalm, starting in verse 1, and this is what it says. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of an horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. And he hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our God. Many shall sit in fear, and shall trust in the Lord. Amen. That is what Psalm 40, 1 through 3 says. Now, what I'm going to do is focus on verse 3, but I wanted to give you verses 1 and 2, just kind of a context. And we'll go to verse 3 and look at it right there. So I want to show you what it, not really show you, but look at what it says right here. And he, God, and he hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise to our God. That's why I gave you the 2 verses above to praise. Many shall sit in fear and shall trust in the Lord. All right, there's verse 3. The question would be on those verses. He hath put a new song in my mouth. Many shall sit in fear. Question. How do you see a song? Read the verse one more time. He hath put a new song in my mouth. Many shall see it. How do you see a song? Anyone? Yes, ma'am. Huh?
A new song can be a change of life from salvation. So now you're not singing the tunes of the world anymore. Now you're singing the Lord's praises. And so there's, that thing.
Yeah, you got to talk to that thing. If I have to, everybody else has to now. And my minion's not here. Anyway,
So a new song can be the Lord putting his song on you. Before salvation, you're singing the world's tunes. You're living the world's way.
Okay.
New song is now you're singing the Lord's praises. Now you're singing that, and there's the change of life that matches what you're singing. So they can see the change.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I don't need a speaker.
I won't sorry, did. Go for it.
The preaching of God's word and
I'm sorry.
studying God's word.
Revelation what?
Holy Spirit, Revelation.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm going to put Revelation up here.
God's word speaks to us when we're saved and causes us to grow.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Preacher, you get the microphone.
Thank you, Professor.
Huh.
So in verse 2, it says
Touche.
he's lifted me up, or is it verse 2?
Well, 3 is the one that I'm looking
he's
at.
lifted
but
me up out of a horrible pit and out of miry clay.
I think
There
that
is-
was 2.
Yep, in verse 2.
Yep.
When you get saved, there's a noticeable difference.
Yes.
So he's lifted me up out of that horrible pit and out of that miry clay. Your life shows Christ's change.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to be vocal about it, but our life is also supposed to speak to.
Right. Our actions. People should be able to see our actions. All right. Bobby just walked in. I would,
You can always print the song out and hand it to somebody, so that's how there you go.
I didn't think about that, but I don't think Jeremiah had printers, or David. But it is correct. I didn't say that. I did not say that at all. Anybody else want to throw out, how do we see a song? Nothing? Well, I got kind of an answer, and then I have a theory, okay? So the answer that I have is kind of like what y'all were saying. How do you see a song? You can't really see the song, but you can see a person's actions. That's kind of the way I was going too, the way I thought about it, is if you see a person act a certain way, they've got a song in their heart usually. They're supposed to have a song in their heart. And then listen to the song in their heart, and just knowing that they're saved forever is a really great thing for everyone. And you can see that in them. You can see the change in them when they know that there's that hope for the future, that there's a peace that comes about them. You can see that in them. You can see the song, if you will, in them that says, I am God's alone, which is a great thing, all right? But like I said, that's kind of my answer, but I have a theory, okay? And I think this verse is actually a subtle reference to heaven. I kind of think that's what it is. Put a new song in my mouth, we shall see it. Many shall see it. I think it's kind of a subtle reference to heaven. We're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go to Revelation 21. Somebody brought that one up? Very good. Revelation 21. Verses 1 through 4. This is what it says in Revelation 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God, out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them. And they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Amen. Can't wait for that day to come. And I hope you can too. Woo, it'd be such a good thing. So there's a couple things right in there that we can know about heaven. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, the Bible does say, eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, neither has it entered into the hearts of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. That's when he's speaking about heaven. So everyone has to know, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, and enter the hearts of man, things about heaven. We can't know what heaven's going to be like, but there are some things that we can know about heaven. Specifically, what's not going to be there. Because the Bible even mentions it to us. God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. Guess how many tears there are in heaven? None. There shall be no more death. We'll get to that. Neither sorrow. So you're never going to have to feel sorrow nor crying. If there's not going to be tears, there's not going to be any crying probably. Neither shall there be any more pain. Could you imagine? No more pain. Whew. Oh. And there will be no more death. By one man, sin into the world, death by sin. The only reason that death exists in this world is because of sin. That's the reason why. That's the punishment for sin. The wages of sin is death. That's what it says. If the wages of sin is death, but if there is no more sin, there can't be no more sin, because there shall be no more death, so there can't be no more sin. So we know in heaven, no more tears, no more crying, no sorrow, no pain, no death, no sickness, no famine. None of that stuff exists in heaven. What a great thing that'll be for all of us. But if you read about verse 4, God shall wipe away all the tears, no more crying, pain, sorrow, death. In order for God to do all that stuff, what is it that we need? What do you think we need to do that? I would think, it's not written right there, but I would think we need a new body. I think that's what we get in heaven, is a new body. I mean, a lot of people will say, yeah, it's pretty much what it's, I don't know that it says specifically, you will get a new body. But in order for God to wipe away all tears, no more crying, no more sorrow, no more pain, we need a new body. I know I would, for sure, especially if you're going to get rid of all the pain. You're going to start over, man. It's bad. But anyway, I think that's what it is we're going to get a new body when we get to heaven. And part of getting the new body is what I was going to explain in this verse. That's why I think this is a subtle reference to heaven, because basically what it says right there, and there's going to be a new song in my mouth, many shall see it. Many shall see, it is in italics, by the way, so if you can think, many shall see versus many shall see it. See just seems to be a lot more encompassing, doesn't it? But anyway, we'll get into that. He put a new song in my mouth, many shall see it, and fear. All right, so this is where I'm going to get to. I know it's going to get a little bit confusing, but I'll explain it to you. So we're going to get new bodies when we get to heaven. All right? I think, like I said, this is theory. I think part of getting a new body would mean that we get new eyes. Would that not be true? I would think we get new eyes. Now, if you could look at this little wheel up here, this is the actual electromagnetic spectrum wheel. When I've told you before that God created energy, this is basically what it is. This is the entire color spectrum of wheels, or spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum. So if you can see the different colors there, if you look at that one way to the left, you'll see that that is the actual microwave radio wave frequency that comes out, wavelength. Basically all it is wavelengths. So if you see on the left side and the yellow is the microwaves, on the bottom side and the brown is radio waves, over there to the right is going to be the infrared waves. And then you get the smaller ones. That blue one up there at the top kind of is a gamma ray, and the black one is for X-rays, the purple one's UV rays. Anyway, so you can see all those. But then there's that little bitty thing, that little bitty white strip right there. You see it? Little bitty white thing. You know what that is? Visible light. That is all that we can see. Of the entire electromagnetic spectrum, we can barely see just that little bitty section. And that is visible light. All the rest, visible light, energy, all the rest we can't see. Now, the visible light includes colors. So if we think about color, in the visible light spectrum, we think red, blue, yellow, pink, purple, orange, okay? Visible light spectrum does not work that way. In fact, all the colors are blended basically together. They're just different wavelengths. So 400 wavelengths is blue, 800 wavelengths is red. And that's basically how we see it. That's not saying that it must be that way. It's just how our brains are functioning. When we see something out there with our eyes tell our brain there's this thing out there, and our brain goes, okay, it's this certain wavelength of light. There's no way that we're able to be able to understand it, but this is what it does. It's like there's a certain wavelength of light, so that thing is supposed to be red, okay? And then even as you're getting the red color, your brain and your eyes are so adept, they can take that red and then make it look darker and make it look lighter, okay? That's what the wavelengths inside your brain are capable of doing. So you see lighter, darker reds and lighter, darker, all kinds of different colors that you see. Everywhere you see all kinds of them. And it's based on the wavelengths that you can see. Now, some people are colorblind. I don't know if you know that, you know that. Some people are colorblind. The reason for that is because they can't see a certain light wavelength, okay? And some colorblind people can actually kind of not graduate, but they kind of drift over into the infrared or in the UV spectrum just a little bit. They can kind of see those every now and then, but they can't see like blue or green or something like that, you know? So their wavelength has shifted in a certain way. So basically what I'm saying is your eyes tell your brain a certain way to look at whatever is out there and then determine what wavelength it is, and that gives you the color in your mind, okay? And that's basically what it is. Visible light is seeing those wavelengths. Okay, I don't know where I thought I had a clicker. There it is, everything. So yeah, there it is. The electromagnetic spectrum. So you see all the different ones, that wavelength of visible light is very small, all right? So like I said, we're going to get new eyes, and I think we get new eyes. That's part of getting a new body. I think we get new eyes, new ears, new tongue, new hands, new everything. I think everything is going to be new, and there's a reason for that. So that visible light spectrum, I think, is that little bitty thing that we see here on earth. I think we get to heaven. This is why I think it's a subtle reference to heaven. I think we get to heaven, we get the new body. God is no longer going to say, this is your visible light spectrum. I think what God is going to do is change our eyes into this kind of a visible light spectrum, to where no longer are we only allowed to see this one little section. I think he's going to open them up to say, hey, now you can see everything. Could you imagine being able to see a song? That would be pretty neat if somebody's singing it. What if you could see, I don't know, like sounds? That would be good. What if you could hear? Put it that way, too. So if you got this changed body, you're going to have new ears. What if you could hear color? What if you could hear it? It doesn't make a sound. No, it does make a sound. We just can't hear it right now. But I think we will be able to later. So that would be one thing, your ears, you could hear colors. You could feel colors because all of your senses are changed. We got 5, touch, taste, sense, or smell, and sight, or something like that. But anyway, all those senses are going to be opened up. I just put up the eyes up there, but all those senses are going to be opened up, I think, to where you could see colors, you could touch them, you could taste them, you could feel it, you could, just imagine being able to see it, smell it, be like, that smells like green. And you walk about, that tastes like orange. It'd just be awesome if you could do all that stuff. Just imagine how much stuff could be opened up. Now, I really don't know. But I know that the Bible says, eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, neither it entered into the hearts of man. But isn't it curious how he puts down specifically, eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, neither is it in the hearts of man. I think we get to heaven, part of those eyes and those ears is going to be the new body that we get. Opens it all up. I think that's part of what we got there in that thing. Anyway, I wanted to show that one to you too. I know that's a crazy different theory, but that's kind of what I was thinking, is how the verse 3 right there in Psalm. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Well, I mean, when Elijah was surrounded by the army, and he tells his servant, or he asked God to open the eyes of the servant,
Yeah,
and
so you can see him.
he sees the army of God. It's out there. We
Yeah.
don't see it.
Right.
And
We don't see it.
With animals, the things they can see and the things they can hear
Yep.
that are beyond what we
Absolutely, they are.
I watch my dog
Yeah.
perk up at stuff, and I'm looking around, don't see a thing.
Yeah.
But she's zeroed in on something.
Yep.
And it amazing smell.
Smell.
She walks out, and the dog way down the street. So she
Smelled a long
comes out
time
and
ago.
starts barking,
Yep.
And how do they know that? Because they can smell.
Yeah.
And
Or hear.
we just don't have that. But it's
Nope.
there, and I agree with you that,
I think it's there too.
we're gonna.
And I think when you were going on animals, I think that's a great thing to think about, is how many animals do different things that we cannot do, we cannot see, we cannot experience. I think the thing about not being able to see everything, I think we actually exist in at least 5 dimensions. People go crazy about that. But I know there's 3 because we see 3, depth, height, and then we perceive the 3rd one. But I think there's 4th one, because you ever seen an angel? No. So angels, that's another dimension. And then where does God live? I think it's another dimension too. That's 5, but I think there's plenty more than that. It doesn't matter. Point being, there's things that are happening all the time that we cannot see until God probably opens our eyes later on. And I think he will do that. So anyhow, that was the point that I wanted to throw out there, was just the theory of how I thought this was going to work out. But it's a good thing to think about heaven. I think it is. You're not going to fully understand it, but it's a good thing to think about it. And those people that say you're so heavenly minded, you're not earthly good or something like that, they're fools. They don't know any better, because if somebody's doing it correctly, they're going to want it. It's not that they're going to be going, oh, you're so heavenly. If they actually know and the person is speaking correctly the way of God to another person, they're going to want that. And they're going to be infected by it. Infected is the wrong word, but I couldn't think of it. Anyhow, all right, let's move on. All right, so the next one, all right, we got past that. Guess what we're going to do? Creation. All right, so I'm going to show you a picture up here, and everybody gets a chance. If you want to guess at it, cool. Someone in this auditorium actually knew what this creature was, so I'd appreciate it if they would just let everyone else have a chance first before they blurt out what it is, Mrs. Preacher. All right, just give me a second. Does anybody know what that is? Mrs. Preacher knew what it was. That Mrs. Preacher. Anybody? Come on, there's your mom.
Bird of prey.
Somebody said bird.
Don't disown you.
I heard bird.
Figure this out. There's two
Buzzer. Yeah, no. What? Hey, man. Your mom said it, dude. You're going to have to listen to her, man. She says it. What? Parrot? Yes, ma'am, you may. It is a harpy eagle. You didn't say harpy eagle. You said eagle. Oh. And somebody said bird. I was like, man, bird? Are you serious? It is a bird. Bird of prey. All right. Hey. Anyway, harpy eagle. All right. Very good, everybody. That is exactly what it is. The harpy eagle. Given its name from Greek mythology, if anybody's heard of the harpies. I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, there he is, the harpy eagle. Oh, well, we'll get into it. He's kind of a small animal, don't you think? His wingspan is 67 inches. How far is that? It's, yeah. And actually their wingspan, I think I had a better picture. That's the average. And yeah, so the biggest one they have is actually 7 feet 3 inches. But if you can imagine, so if I stretched out both of my hands as far as I could, that's about 6 feet. So another foot on that is how wide the wingspan is on this creature, the harpy eagle. Wow, got a big wingspan, 7 feet long. His length, so they measured the length of a bird from the very crown of their head to the very top of or the very bottom of their feet. And he's 32 inches, so about 3 feet, not necessarily 3 feet, but close to 3 feet tall. Okay, and he weighs 10 pounds, which doesn't sound like much until you're flying. How do you throw a 10-pound weight in there? Anyhow, all right, so 10 pounds is his weight, basically. But that is the guy. This will give you an idea of the size of this animal. This is a full-size person, adult male that's over 6 feet tall. It's actually standing next to a harpy eagle. That'll give you an idea of just how wicked huge this thing is. It's a big bird of prey. Very good. It is a bird of prey. And what they do have is dimorphism. Does anybody remember that word? Anybody? You're all in college. You don't know what dimorphism is? Yeah, they don't teach that stuff. Man. Dimorphism means, or for in this case, the sexual dimorphism means the male and the female are different sizes. That's what dimorphism is. But, however, unlike most animals, every animal is different from the harpy eagle in this way for the dimorphism because the females are actually larger than the males. Very different from most every other thing out there. Dimorphism, it's usually the males that are bigger. But in this case, for the harpy eagles, the female is bigger. Not only is she bigger, she's like twice the size almost. So she can weigh 22 pounds. So that's a pretty big animal, still lifting off the ground with those wings. That one is a boy. I know. The girls get bigger. So anyway, yeah, it's a big animal. So anyway. All right, let's move on. Don't do that. Hey, oh, cool. The equipment for the harpy eagle. So he has all kinds of different things. One of the things that we're going to talk about is his vision. We got to talk about that earlier about the God opening up. So a vision for a harpy eagle, though, it's been specifically designed for where he is. So the eagles, I haven't given you the range yet, but I'll show it to you here in a second. They live in like a rainforesty area, and it's like a thick canopy covering. So their vision is designed for an area that's low light and that where the light is barely coming through the trees or whatever, they can suck in all that light with their eyes. You kind of saw a picture of their eyes, and that helps them to see where they are. And also helps them to locate prey because of those eyes, the way that they're designed. They're actually a whole lot better than ours. The eyes of the harpy eagle are actually 8 times stronger than that of a man. So if you can imagine that when he's seeing something 8 times out there. I'm going to show you a little bit of a picture here too because this is pretty neat. So on the left, you can see where it's split in that black thing. On the left is, stop it. On the left, Harpy eagle, the way the harpy eagle would see all the way down there. On the right is the way that a person would see all the way down there. Now, 8 times better is a harpy eagle. So if you see that, it's kind of like a monkey thing, sitting right there on that. If he's seeing that monkey, that is 650 feet away. If you can imagine 650 feet, a football field is 300 feet. So a football field, and then another football field, and then 50 yards on top of that is how far this animal can see, and it looks like him like that. Whereas us, you know, if something is an inch long and it's 650 feet away at an inch long, the harpy eagle can see it. He can see an inch long and 650 feet. I don't know how. We can't do that. But you can see how when the light comes in there, he's able to suck in all that light, and you can see how he can see way out through there. Whereas people, we can't soak in all that light like that. So our vision is limited to that. We wouldn't even see the monkey out there. The monkey's still in that picture. He's kind of behind a tree. But anyway, you can't even see him. Harpy eagle sees him just fine. And when he sees, we'll get into that in a second. Anyway, yeah. Another thing about a harpy eagle is that they are aerial, meaning they can fly. So if you think about the eagle that can fly, a harpy eagle, he can fly. They fly around 20 to 30 miles an hour is how fast they fly. Stop. So they fly about 20 or 30 miles an hour, just normal flying. If they were chasing something, they can actually hit up to 50 miles an hour. So if you saw that area where they were at, and they're hitting 50 miles an hour in that little bitty area, they're pretty good about what they do. More of their equipment. They've got gigantic talons. So there's a person holding some of the feet or holding the foot of a harpy eagle, and you can see where he's pinching that one claw. Oh, they're pretty big on that eagle. They've got huge talons, and they're really strong too. Talons are actually, they're long, and they are curved so he can hold on to prey. And actually those talons are so big that they have been related to a bear. So they're basically grizzly bear-sized claws on the bottom of this eagle that he comes down to grab stuff with. Grizzly bear claws, wow. All right, his legs. So when he has to take off, so he did a little bit of picture, you can kind of see right there, his legs. The legs on one of the harpy eagles are basically the size of a man's wrist. So his leg is about that big around, and they're hollow. Figure that one out. Anyway, he can lift the prey. So if he goes down there and kills something, he can lift it up with those giant legs that are there. And actually the prey, they can lift up to like 10 pounds. So if you imagine a 15-pound bird swoops down there and grabs something that weighs 10 pounds, the bird weighs 15, or let's say it weighs 20. So something that's half of his weight, he can carry it in flight up to its nest and then eat it up there. It'd be like, so I'm about 200 pounds. So if I got something that's 100 pounds, where Luke, if he's 100 pounds, and I was to kill him and then carry him up to where I'm going to eat him, that would be the same thing as a harpy eagle. They could pick up something that weighs half as much as them and fly off with it. Wow. All right. So the range for the harpy eagle, though, we're out of time. All right, they're basically down there in South America. Brazil is where they're at the most part, and they come up into a little bit of Central America. They have a dense canopy. It's kind of what I was explaining to you, and I showed you the picture. There's canopies are really dense, thick, rainforest. They have quick movement, so their wings are 7 feet long, which kind of sounds like a big wing, but it's actually not considering the size of the bird. So his wings are supposed to be 10 feet wide, and they would be in normal areas. But because of that dense canopy, his wings they decrease the length or the width, I guess, and then have increased the broadness of them. So his wings are really broad, not quite as wide, but they're still really broad. And the reason for that is so he can move really fast because he has those broad wings. Boom, he moves really fast in that dense canopy. All right, so yeah, there's another harpy eagle. That's exactly what they are. Another thing that they do, it's pretty neat, is they kill outside of their nest. So when they go to kill something, they kill it and they make sure that the nest is over there, so they kill it outside of the nest and wait, and they make sure that it's dead too. So they'll be kicking it and they'll peck on it to make sure that it's dead, and then they'll fly it back to the nest after they're sure that it's dead, and then they eat it there. The males and the females, I told you about the dimorphism. So the females are significantly bigger, and nobody really knows why. So I've tried to find out why. Nobody knows why. And the one idea that I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I agree with, but makes the most sense is that the females are bigger so that they can protect the nest. You know, that's kind of their idea, is that they're bigger so they protect the nest. I don't know. I know males do leave after the eggs are hatched, so they just go away, and then the females take care of them. So it is possible, but I don't know. Neither do they. The harpy eagles are rare, so that area in Brazil, I mean, there's about 55,000, which sounds like a lot, but if you consider that range that stretches out a long way, they're not very much, and they're hard to actually see too, where they are. All right, so, yes, but it's a different kind of a territorial thing, to where the males are more territorial, females don't care at all, but their territory is smaller, and they don't defend it like cats. They don't defend it in that way, but they do have a territory. All right, the diet for people, they don't eat people. I'll go ahead and tell you now. So, anyway, don't worry, they don't eat people.
They look like they'd like to try it.
They don't eat large people. Let's put it that way. You ready, boy? Anyway, their diet, they eat mainly arboreal mammals. You may know what arboreal means. Tree. They live in trees. That's what arboreal means. They live in trees. Other things they eat, possums, armadillos, birds, and reptiles, smaller ones. Smaller. It's kind of a medium-ish, small to medium. You know, armadillos aren't that big. It's kind of a thing like they're a small animal, but as that thing swoops down, it grabs it and takes it off and then kills it outside the nest, then brings it to the nest to eat it. All right, so birds, reptiles. One other thing that I want to throw out there that the harpy eagle eats. Yes, they eat macaws. Didn't your mom have a macaw? Yes, she did. So, I'm going to tell this story now because we're out of time, so I can tell the story. The macaw. So Jackie's mom had a macaw, which was the worst bird on the planet, if none of you know, the very worst. Why would you ever buy a bird? Don't get a bird and don't get a harpy eagle. Anyway, harpy eagles eat macaws. That thing, we go in the house, and if a kid or anybody would stick their finger in there just to pet it, it'd bite it off. I mean, that thing was mean. And not only that, like her mom kept that thing up to be like, oh, look at my macaw, and kept it under a blanket. And I was like, why do you even have that bird if you don't keep it covered up all the time? Anyhow, the thing ended up dying. Like, you know, and I told Jackie, I was like, you know, if your mom actually ends up dying, then we have to inherit the macaw. Okay, you have 2 weeks. This is what I was excited about. You'd be like, you have 2 weeks to get rid of that macaw. Because at the end of 2 weeks, I'm eating him. Man, I would have ate him slow and loved every second of it. Ugh, couldn't wait. But the harpy eagle beat me to it. Anyway, and it died. So, all right, so there's their diet. So, for macaws, whatever. They're an ambush hunter. Most of the cats have been stalk ambush hunters. This thing is not a stalk hunter, so it doesn't walk up on something, but it is an ambush hunter. And the way that harpy eagles normally would attack their prey is they'll sit and they'll perch up on a tree or something really high, and with that supervision, they can see really far away and look down, and then when they see it, they can swoop down there real fast, and they go 50 miles an hour and grab that thing, and then come back, kill it outside, and come back. But that's what they are. They're ambush hunters, so they wait for that thing to get into its range and then just go kill it. All right. There we go. And we're a little bit over. Anyway, all right, so the harpy eagle is actually an apex predator. That's what I've been trying to do, is show you guys all kinds of different apex predators. So we're going to have one more apex predator next week, which everybody will know, and if you shouldn't, or you should know, everybody, we're going to do that one more time next week, and then we're going to go into something else. And we're still going to do creation, but it's not going to be apex predators much, and this list that I've given you is definitely not exhaustive. I'm just showing you a couple of the apex predators there. Anyhow, all right, so we are over on time, sorry about that. But we're going to get into our next thing, and I think we have choir. Yep. All right, so we got choir practice. So let's go do our next things after that, and appreciate you all being here. So cool.